Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Michael Wodarczk, as Father David just said. I'm a seminarian with the Priesthood of the Sacred Heart. I've been in temporary vows for 1 year, and I will be renewing my vows in July. I'm studying theology at Sacred Heart Seminary and School of Theology, and I have just finished Theology 1 and will be entering Theology 2 in the fall. I'd like to tell you all a little bit about myself. I was raised in Brookfield, Wisconsin, which is a suburb of Milwaukee. My mom and dad still live there. I have one older brother, Philip, who is about 3.5 years older than me. He has a wife, Katie. I have one nephew, Jackson, 2 step-nephews, John and Devin, and one step-niece, Alyssa. I have been in Catholic schools for my whole life. I went to St. John Vianney Parish School in Brookfield, Wisconsin, Catholic Memorial High School in Waukesha, and St. Norbert College in De Pere, Wisconsin, which is about 2.5 hours north of the Milwaukee area. There, I graduated with a Bachelor of Business Administration degree with a major in accounting. And after college, I worked at a company called Essentia. They make spices for food, so they sell them to larger food companies for them to put in their product. And I worked there from August of 2012 to January of 2019. And there I worked in inventory control, where I helped manage the company's inventory and helped sort out if something was missing or if there were problems or just if something needed counting. And then I also helped out with year-end inventory as well. Some of my hobbies are watching movies and taking walks. In 2016, I started thinking about the priesthood. I started by talking with the vocation director of the Archdiocese of Milwaukee. And from there, I started to grow more in praying. And as a result, started going to Eucharistic adoration. In the summer of 2016, I went on a walking pilgrimage from St. Francis de Sales Seminary, which is the major seminary in Milwaukee, to Holy Hill, which is a big pilgrimage site in the Milwaukee area. And this was about 54 miles from beginning to end, and it was a 4-day walk. And during that time, I was introduced to Liturgy of the Hours, which is prayers that priests and lay people do. And so I was introduced to that, and as a result of that pilgrimage afterwards, I started praying that more and more. I also helped out at my home parish, lecturing and Eucharistic ministering, and helping to teach RCIA. I also started seeing a spiritual director, who is someone who helps you to see the movements God is doing in your life. In 2018, I started discerning religious life and looking at religious orders. I looked at the Franciscans, the Jesuits, and the Priests of the Sacred Heart, also known as SCJs and also known as Dehonians. I met with the SCJ vocation director and went to a come and see weekend and really liked what I saw. So I filled out an application and went through the acceptance process, which is coming to the provincial office and meeting with a few of the priests, and they get to know you, you get to know them, and they decide if you are a fit for the community. And I was accepted and started formation in January of 2019. I chose the SCJ community because they had daily adoration, which is actually one of my favorite forms of prayer. They also had daily mass. And I knew in my discernment that I wanted to help out in parishes. And so that's one of their many ministries. The SCJ ministries are St. Joseph's Indian School and their 6 parishes around the Indian reservation, serving the Sioux and Lakota tribes in South Dakota. They also serve at Our Lady of Guadalupe Parish in Houston, Texas, serving the Hispanic community there. And they also help with priestly formation at Sacred Heart Seminary and School of Theology in Hales Corners, Wisconsin. And they also serve the Vietnamese community at St. Martin of Tours in Franklin, Wisconsin. And then down here in Mississippi, they serve the poor at Sacred Heart Southern Missions and also serve their 6 parishes here in northern Mississippi. In the formation community, we have a daily schedule that we follow. In the morning at around 7:15, we gather for morning prayer and for Mass. And then at about 5 p.m., we gather for adoration and evening prayer. And then between 5:30 and 6:30, we either watch the news or gather in our SCJ rec room to just chit-chat with one another, see how our days are going. And then we meet at 6 p.m. for dinner, where we gather and have our dinner as a formation community. We also get together for First Fridays, which is the first Friday of the month. And usually we'll have a SCJ speaker who talks about their ministry and Dehon spirituality. And it really helps us to get to know our brother SCJs and the different ministries we have. We also gather once a month on Sunday evenings where two people in formation help cook a meal for the whole formation community. And I can honestly say I'm not all that good at cooking. I don't have a big repertoire of recipes. So you would think I would choose someone to be my partner who would be really, really good at cooking. Well, I haven't yet. I usually end up having to do half of the cooking. But it ends up turning out really well. We've had really good meals and a lot of different varieties of meals, some Vietnamese food, Southern food, and it's really good, and it really gives us a chance to bond as a community. And also, at the end of the year and at the beginning of the year, we'll go out for an outing of some sort. And this picture right here is our outing at the beginning of this past academic year, where we went to the Wisconsin Dells. And I don't know if any of you guys know about Wisconsin Dells, but it's a big water park capital in Wisconsin, and it's where a lot of families go over the summer to visit water parks and have a good time in the summer. And so we went there, and I'm not all that much of a big water park person. So I think my brother seminarians really enjoyed seeing me going down some of the water slides as I look in fright. But they enjoyed it, and I also enjoyed it as well. And then at the end of the year, we did something called Whirly Ball, which is where you're in a bumper car and you have a lacrosse stick. And so you try to take a wiffle ball and hit this, it's a basketball hoop, but it doesn't have the hoop, but it has the backboard. And so you try to hit a bullseye. I wasn't all that good at it, but some of my brothers were. And so we had a lot of fun, and it was, again, another good chance for all of us to bond and have some fun, and I think everyone enjoyed themselves. For education, if you're someone like myself who has gotten a bachelor's degree, you go straight to Sacred Heart Seminarian School of Theology, where you'll study philosophy, go to novitiate, and then do 4 years of theology studies. And if you come to the SCJs right after high school, you'll have to get a bachelor's degree, and so usually we have that at Marquette University, which is a Jesuit college in downtown Milwaukee, and then afterwards they come to theology, the School of Theology, to do their master's degree work. And during the summer, we go to our different ministries around the United States. So a couple of seminarians will go to Mississippi, Texas, and South Dakota. Me personally, I've been to Mississippi in 2019, Houston, Texas in 2020, and South Dakota in 2021. And it's a really good way to see the different ministries and the different houses, see how all the communities live, how they live out their vocation and their community life. I entered the novitiate in 2021, and this is a year of prayer and study. We learn about different ways to pray, and we also learn about our founder, Father Leo John DeHone, and the founder of the Priests of the Sacred Heart. One of my favorite things that I learned about from this year was actually Father DeHone's world travels. At one point, when he was younger, he went and traveled the world with one of his buddies and just saw all of the world. And then two, I learned he was a stenographer at the First Vatican Council. And I thought that was a pretty cool little fact that I learned about Father DeHone, and it was, sort of neat to see how awesome his experience in seminary and in Rome was. We also learn about the spirituality of the Priests of the Sacred Heart. We go through the constitutions and the rule of life. I then took first vows on August 15th of 2022. And right here, this is a picture of me and my fellow novice brothers on our first day of entering the novitiate. And then here is a picture of us the day we took our first vows with the Priests of the Sacred Heart. So it was a really cool experience. I really learned a lot about prayer, about the Priests of the Sacred Heart, and also about myself. And also I have a picture here of, this was from a celebration we had of March 14th, which is our founder's birthday. And so we had a nice mass and a nice celebration. And so this is a picture of the formation community on that day. So as I said, I just took first vows, and I started my theology studies, where I just completed Theology 1 and will be in Theology 2 this fall. And I really learned a lot this year about my faith, about the Catholic Church, learning things about the Trinity, Scriptures. My two favorite classes were Pentateuch and Church History. Pentateuch had really cool interpretations of Scripture, and you really got a lot of good information to meditate and pray on. It also had a lot of neat information about the Scriptures. Church history also really helped me learn about the Church's past and how the Church grew from its good times and also its bad times. And this also helped me to critically think more, and it also helped me how to write and how to say something in as little words as possible. This year, I'm in Mississippi for my summer ministry, helping out at the 6 parishes and working with Father Artie and Father David. and just seeing what it's like to be a parish priest and what it means to be a pastor of 6 parishes. I am planning on renewing my vows in July of this year at the SCJ chapter. And it's been a really good experience, and I've really learned a lot, and it's really helped foster my vocation. Some of the pictures I have here, one is of a community event that we had a couple of years ago where we did a tour around Milwaukee, and it was a boat tour, so we got to see all the skyline of Milwaukee. And then I have a picture here of Paul and I, one of the other seminarians, at Martha's Kitchen in Houston, where we helped in the summer of 2020. And I have a picture here of my summer in South Dakota at St. Joseph's Indian School, and then a picture of me teaching the kids about Wisconsin at Dayhone Village here in Walls, Mississippi. And so that's a little bit about me, my vocation, my story, and the Priest of the Sacred Heart. Are there any questions? Yes?
What first inspired you to consider priesthood? What was the first spark?
Well, when I first started discerning, I looked up different religious orders in the Milwaukee area where I was from, and so I started reading about the Priest of the Sacred Heart. And like I said, I really liked that they did, daily adoration. It was a part of, who they were as a community, their parish work, and they just seemed to do a lot of really good. And they had the School of Theology, which actually I ended up learning. A lot of people knew that I knew, and then 2, they knew St. Joseph's Indian School. And so they just had a lot of really good ministries that I really liked. Yes?
Okay, so have you always wanted to be a priest? Was there something that really spurred you to want to be or live an ordained life?
Well, after I graduated college, I went back home, and I saw the priests that were at my home parish, and they were really good role models, really good examples. And so I thought maybe that's something that I would like to do. So I looked more into it, and I've been discovering more and more that it's a call for me. Yeah. Yes.
So obviously you're kind of fresh on both sides of the coin, just having gone in and gotten out yourself. From the other side, from being in the order, what do you look for in a potential someone who's come to the order wanting to become a priest? Are there things, specific traits you look for, warning signs that you shouldn't?
Well, I know from being in formation, the different signs, I'm not exactly sure. I'm sure my formators would tell you, all the different things that they look for. But I know, usually there's usually the guys have, good prayer life. They want to work in the church. They want to help people. And so I think those are some of the traits that our seminarians look for. For me.
To respond to that question?
Yeah.
What were some of the questions you were asked when you were interviewed by SJs?
What if I said I didn't remember? Let me think. Well, I know, a lot of the questions had to do with, how is my relationship with God? how is my relationship with the church? What kinds of things had I done to help in the church, and just sort of things like that. And I think too, to make sure that I'm sane and not crazy, which obviously I passed. I'm still here. But yeah, just to make sure that they're a good, solid, faith-filled, loving, Christian man that wants the best for the church and for the church's flock. Yes.
What did your family think about your decision?
My family is very supportive. On my dad's side of the family, actually, my late aunt was a religious sister. So my dad's side of the family had some experience with someone in the family going into religious life. So they were very supportive, and my mom and my brother and my dad, they were very supportive and knew if it was something that will make me happy and make me fulfilled to go for it.
What about your friends? How did they feel?
My friends were surprised to hear that I was discerning the priesthood, but they also too were supportive. One of my really good friends is born and raised Catholic, and So he knew about the priesthood, but like I said, was a little bit surprised that I was going into the priesthood.
You want to help with physical inventory on the 23rd? No SAT?
Huh?
No SAT?
Mm-hmm.
So did anyone, a lot of times in the practice of law, somebody asks if they want to go to be a lawyer, and the first one to try to talk about them is a lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
So did any of the priests try to push you, test you, almost try to talk you out of it to make sure you really wanted to do it? I mean, did they pry?
Yeah, there were some, there were some priests along the way that sort of tested me. But like what you were saying, as I thought about it, as I listened to what they were saying, it helped me to really, discern that yes, this is what I wanted to do. Yes.
Okay, so becoming a priest or any kind of religious is a very special calling.
Yes.
All right, so for young people, we haven't got very many young people these days who are pursuing that. Mm-hmm. What would you say would be a good way to help encourage the vocation to the religious life? What would your advice to us as a community to encourage young people to consider that?
I would say, I would call, everyone to, I guess, be open to religious life, and and if people do come to you and ask questions about, maybe concerns that they have, to be able to say, and one good thing is, you guys have the, several priests of the Sacred Heart, to have those young people come and talk to the priests and to ask them questions about their day-to-day lives, to sort of maybe ease some of those fears that they do have and those questions that they do have. And to also talk with, if there's, people in for summer ministry, to talk with them, and just to, I would say, to get those young people to just sort of ask questions and ask priests that they know and that they trust to answer those questions. Yes.
Were you always focused on becoming a member of a religious community versus
becoming, say, a diocesan priest? Did you think about that, or were you always focused on being part of a religious community?
I was open to both, actually. I was open to either diocesan or religious life, and it was just whatever God was leading me toward, and so God was leading me towards the SCJs and the Priests of the Sacred Heart. Yes.
You mentioned a little bit about religious life.
Mm-hmm.
When you talk, and that's what we had on TV. So far, what's been surprising?
Mm-hmm.
What's been your most memorable part of being in religious life in the community?
I would say the most surprising part of religious life has been, I would say would be the community aspect of religious life. I'm an introvert, so like sometimes being social, can be a little bit of a challenge. But, in the community, they're really caring, they're really supportive. And so, the community is there to help you to, maybe see things that maybe you don't, and to work on things, and also to foster what you are good at, and to let you know the strengths and the weaknesses that you have. So I would say the community aspect of that was the most surprising, and also something that helped me learn a lot. Yes?
You said you're a movie buff. What are your 3 favorite movies?
Oh, okay. Let's see. My 3 favorite movies. I would say I love the Amazing Spider-Man movies. I think they came out in 2012, like 2014. Those are really good. Let's see. I love the Harry Potter movies. Those are really good. And 2, I read those books when I was a kid, and so just it reminds me a lot of my being a kid. And let's see, what other movies? I also like the Lord of the Rings movies, although they're really, really long, so you can't really watch those all that often, but they're really good. Yes?
I've been a Catholic my whole life.
Mm-hmm.
What's the difference between the diocesan priests and the other? You know what I'm saying? You brought that up. I've never heard that before.
Oh, so the diocesan priesthood is a priest who is ordained to a particular diocese. So, like here in Mississippi is Jackson, Mississippi. So you have priests that are ordained to the diocesan priesthood. And so they'll take promises of poverty, chastity, and obedience. And in religious life, you take vows of poverty, chastity, and obedience. And I think with diocesan priests, they get to, they get a salary, they get to keep their money. Whereas with religious, you're joining a community, you take this vow of poverty, and you don't take any of the stipends that are given to you and just put them into your account, in your bank account. You give them to the order, and you live in a community as a religious priest. Whereas with a diocesan priest, they move from different parishes. They live in a rectory, and they have their own car. They have their own house or rectory, and so they're a little bit more independent. I mean, they have to go wherever the bishop tells them. And the religious life, they live in a community. We have a provincial who is sort of like our bishop, and so he will assign us different places. And so when we get a stipend, we have to give it to our provincial treasurer, and so we live in a community. And so we always have sort of community. 2 or 3 people live in a home or in a community house, wherever we have ministries. So you're never really alone as a religious, and so yeah, we sort of have more of that community-based living. Yes.
What would you think, or what would you say to be the most challenging thing about
So far for me, the most challenging thing I've ever, really come across was actually getting rid of my own car. When I entered the novitiate, I got rid of my own car, and so that was really tough, because then I actually had to depend on the community to make sure I had a car, and so I can get to my ministry or to wherever I needed to go. So sort of having that sort of getting rid of your material possessions, I think such as a car, some of those big things has been a little bit of a challenge for me.
What's the biggest blessing that you've experienced?
The biggest blessing I have, joy or blessing, I would say the biggest blessing I've had would be, having a good community, having, a group of people that I, for the most part, really get along with well, a group that respects me, I respect them, and I feel like I really get along well with the community. And then also too, the education I've gotten with philosophy, theology, has also been a really big blessing. I've really learned a lot from that.
Is there a particular, as you kind of advance, and you're still young enough that everything is wide open in a sense here, is there a focus, an area of the church you want to focus into, or of the orders of the church, of the order you want to focus into, or you want to be boots on the ground or more administrative? What do you feel like you want to do?
I know when I first began discerning, I really do want to have some experience of being a pastor, working in a parish. So that's one of my goals. But also, I have an accounting degree, as I mentioned. So I would also like to use that accounting degree at some point in the community to help the province sort of in an accounting type way. And then also, I sort of feel a little bit of a call to help out with formation in some way, whether it be with the SCJs or at our School of Theology in Hales Corner. So those are sort of the 3 areas that I feel like I've received a call to sort of help out more in the community. Yes.
You used to hear me ask the guys, do you remember the answer to this question? What did you learn in formation?
Bob Tucker is the greatest. Any other questions?
what kind of car was it?
What kind of car was it? It was a Toyota Corolla. It was a 2014 Toyota Corolla. It was the first car I ever bought, and it was really nice. What's my favorite food? I love spaghetti. Spaghetti with marinara sauce is one of my favorites. Yeah.
You expect invitations for 3 days now.
So how do you like the adjustment from Milwaukee, being from the Midwest, to Mississippi summers?
So far,
Sweater, which,
Didn't understand that.
well, actually, the first time I was here, I went to one of the offices in Walls, and we went to go and talk with some people. I think it was at Dayhone Village. And I walked in there, and the air conditioning was blasted on so high that I actually did need a sweater in the office. But yeah, it's a little bit of an adjustment coming from sort of the Midwest to the heat. There's a little bit of an adjustment. I need to make sure I drink plenty of water and make sure I'm not out in the sun too long with a sweater like this. So I mean, I can pull it off, I think, here in a gymnasium, but not outside. Well, oh, yes.
I would love to see you give the same talk to the young people, young boys especially. Because I think that's when maybe you spur somebody.
Yeah.
Maybe they already planned that for you. What was the question? Can't hear.
Oh, would I give this talk to sort of the young people and the youth of the parishes? Yeah, I don't know if David has that planned or not. I'm not sure. Yes.
You're discussing your blessings that you feel like you gained. Have you gotten a lot of satisfaction from the community service aspect of it? Like, for example, here in Mississippi, Devon Village. And
Yes. Yes, I have. A few summers ago, I helped out in the Dayhone Village at the summer camp, and then also we helped out at the food pantry and the mobile food pantry, and that was a very good experience. I loved giving the food out, and having the opportunity to visit some of those homes and give them the food. And so yeah, that's been a very good blessing too, to be able to help those that are in need. Yes.
So, living the lifestyle that you live, does that bring a lot of peace to you?
Yeah. Yep, it brings a lot of peace to me too. Yeah, this is a good lifestyle, and yeah, there's peace in sort of knowing that you'll have your brothers that you can have dinner with, or have a social one night of the week with, and yeah, to be able to go home and know that you won't have a big empty house that's all to yourself, but have brothers in community, and you can bounce off ideas off of them, see if they have any ideas. If you're going through a problem or going through a difficult situation, you have some people there around you to help.